Hey, folks, happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name's Jason Robertson, and I'm here with my partner in crime.
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us, folks. Jason, we have to cover State of the Union. We might be the last podcast in America. We're finally getting to it on a Friday, but getting to it nonetheless. Thanks for joining us today, folks.
Yeah, I got to say, Todd and I, we love talking to you guys. We love hanging out on Fridays with you. It's kind of our decompress for the week where we've seen all the crazy, and throughout the week we got a little channel in our work Slack where we kind of go back and forth and like, oh, this is weird, this weird, that's weird, and we always have fun to talk about for what we want to do on Friday, hanging out with our friends. By the way, we're coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and our personal favorite, Rumble. We got Mark and Becky over on Rumble. Todd, why do we love Rumble so much?
Well, it's really simple, folks. We love Rumble because we can say what we want to, and not just that. It's not that we can spout off whatever insanities we have on our minds. It's because we can say the truth. Rumble does not censor free speech. It does not censor the truth when we need to speak out against the establishment, against the regime, against the powers that be. And so, folks, if you're watching us on Facebook, you join us a little later in the show on Facebook. You can always find the live podcast, the recordings of the podcast, and our Rumble community at rumble.com. Search out the American Tribune.
Yeah, and we go an hour on YouTube, Facebook, and then we do another half hour or so over on the Rumble, Twitter. And it's fun, too, is we're picking things we want to talk about. Like throughout the week, it's like, oh, that's a Rumble only. Oh, that's a Rumble only. And so anybody who thinks the censorship isn't real, it's a thing. It still exists. And it's crazy.
It's almost as if, Jason, the leftists still control all the major institutions. And remember when people were like, oh, look, Zuckerberg gave Trump $1 million for his inauguration fund. That'll totally make things better on Facebook. No.
No, they hate us. And anybody that loves America and wants to dismantle the bureaucracy, yeah, they're not fans. But I got to say, Todd, State of the Union, it was funny. I was debating going in, like, how do I watch it live? Do I not? And the first thing I saw, I was getting ready to log on Monday night, and I looked on the Twitter, and I saw somebody fact-checking Donald Trump talking about gas prices. And Donald, for anybody who hasn't recognized it, gas is way down. I just filled up my tank a few days ago, like $2.30 a gallon. Used to be $4 or $5. Used to cost me 60 some bucks to fill up my freaking Altima of all things. And now it was like $20. And Donald Trump threw out some numbers and the left was fact checking him. Well, according to Iowa on Gas Buddy, Donald Trump said that the gas was $1.87. And if you look at their records for the time he was in Iowa, it was the cheapest price you could find is $1.96. So clearly Donald Trump's a liar. I'm like, F you guys. Like, seriously, if you can't concede that Donald Trump has done drill, baby, drill, we are now the largest producer of oil in the world. Gas prices are going down, which brings the cost of everything down. Like, you're an idiot. And then you see all these people like responding like, yeah, Donald Trump's such a liar. You're right. Gas wasn't $1.85. It was $1.96. And I'm like, I couldn't even do it Monday night. But then Tuesday, I logged in to watch it. Fresh brain, well rested, nice cup of coffee. God, that was a great State of the Union, Todd.
It was so good. And Jason, you prompted a rant from me about the low IQ rebuttals of Trump's falsehoods, about him lying about gas prices or egg prices here. It is a sign of low intelligence that you hear an example and you're like, oh, he said gas was this. Well, where I live, gas is different. So he's clearly lying. Like, if you can't extrapolate data or generalize or look at the big picture and say, yes, I know that's not true for me here, but it is true elsewhere. I love the example that floats around on the internet. They're always like, if you say on average, like, this is your litmus test to figure out if someone is low IQ or not. You say Asian people are shorter than white people. And they're like, well, I know an Asian that plays basketball and he's 6'5". Like, you've already shown how dumb you are, because Asians, statistically, generally speaking, are shorter than white people. It doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to that you might have an Asian taller than a white person, but generally speaking, they're shorter. So if he says gas prices are this, and you're over there saying, oh, it's 10 cents higher in my neighborhood, he's lying. You are exposing yourself for your low IQ. And I hate to rag on my mother-in-law, Jason. And I did promise the audience, I just got back from Arizona this week, took the mother-in-law with the family down to Arizona, and it was fine. It was like traveling with a third child. But we're watching the State of the Union, and she hates Donald Trump, hates him. She called me the N-word one time because I voted for him. But he's out there talking about egg prices. And so his number in the speech was $1.89. Egg prices are down to $1.89. And my mother-in-law, God love her, is like, well, I paid $5 for eggs. And so she failed the test. But I also had to point out, I was like, Renee, he's talking about like the white eggs for a dozen. You're out there buying organic eggs. It's not even the same thing. Buying a different kind of egg. But also, we were paying $7 for the cheap white eggs under Joe Biden. I just can't with these people sometimes. I just can't.
Oh, speaking of which, Mary, I hope Mary's giving us grief. Sometimes people post stuff on the Facebook, and you don't know if they're trolling and if you're going to say something. You are lying. Trump said it was $1.99 in Iowa. Well, if you're going to quote somebody, at least get it right. Listen, Mary, we have fun on our Friday podcast. If it's going to, gas is down. Gas is way down. We love Donald Trump. We think what he's done is great. But this is kind of our point. Like, people get so lost in the weeds with any Donald Trump stuff that it's like, and yes, is gas $1.85 is what Donald Trump said. But like, why are we having to argue about the exact number that he said? That's what is so funny. And Becky, do I need to jump onto Facebook?
You probably do. And again, Mary, don't know where you're coming from here. He said $1.85. Like, you're trying to fact check us, and you're not even right with your facts. But boy, isn't this a great example of how the Democrats reacted in general? We have more Democrat reactions coming up later in the show here. Again, not even the point. You could make up a number and just be like, Democrats said it was something else. That's the whole point. We're not trying to drill down to specifics. But he said $1.85, Mary, not $1.99.
Oh my gosh. Can we go side screen?
Yeah.
Do we start with some of the great Trump moments from the State of the Union, Todd?
Oh boy, who's our producer on the show here? Here, I think we got our layout figured out. I don't know what's happening here. All right, we got to get to State of the Union. Jason, I think the highlight of the show here was that Donald Trump exposed Democrats for what they are: anti-American, pro-illegal. At one point in the State of the Union, and this is masterclass Trump, he said, if you agree with the statement that the federal, and I'm going to not quote it correct, Mary, forgive me, but he said, paraphrasing, if you agree that the federal government should put American citizens first ahead of illegals, stand up. And boy, oh boy, did Democrats find themselves in a pickle. Do we put Americans first, or do we oppose Donald Trump? Unreal.
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
Look at that.
Amazing. Incredible. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we?
Can't even stand up for that.
Yeah, and the clip was the part that he said just before that is, if you think America's for Americans, stand up. And Democrats couldn't even stand. And I got to say, as that should be clipped and played as every ad for a midterm ad. And here's the thing. I'm going to say it. Sometimes Democrats won't support things because Donald Trump supports them. In this case, I don't believe that they believe that America is for Americans. I think they believe America is just some economic zone that they do, and it's truly remarkable. In fact, Todd, here, let me drop this in the over on the Discord. Like, I saw this meme somebody made, and I'm like, this is the greatest meme I've ever seen. It's a white liberal woman that says, well, yes, I want open borders, but I think if they've gotten away with breaking immigration law for a long time, they should be able to stay. And I'm like, this is Democrat logic. This is the Democrat logic that they continue pushing, and it drives me nuts.
It drives you crazy. Again, every day you're like, how do you people wake up and vote Democrat? Dee Dee's in the house over on Rumble. Good morning. Got to get to Judy on the Facebook, too. She says, there is no longer a Democrat party. It's become the Communist Party. And if you doubt it, you've been fully indoctrinated, not educated. Yeah. Judy gets
Right?
it. Judy gets it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Becky, who's, I think it was yesterday or today, she had her last chemo treatment. Prayers out to Becky. She's going over to Facebook to go get him. We got Lamar. Welcome, Lamar. You're a Democrat. You need to repent or go to hell. You're evil. Yeah, I don't know what point anybody can even like support Democrats. But should we go through a little more State of the Union, Todd?
Yeah, we got Eric Slover, the decorated Army helicopter pilot. Boy, Jason, I noticed that he had some bullet wounds in his legs. He was carrying a walker, but he was able to stand up during the State of the Union because he's proud of his country. But let's watch that moment. This might have been, that was my favorite political moment, but I think this was the best moment of the night. And you realize, Jason, what our military is made of. Like, we're talking the best of the best, the absolute patriots here. Take a watch as he's getting the Presidential Medal or the Congressional Medal of Honor. Right there.
Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter. To deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy. Eric and Amy, come on in.
Look at that.
That's a specimen, too. He's a good dude.
So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
What an amazing moment. I was talking about this the other day on Wayne's podcast. Like, there were so many moments in this thing that just gave me chills, where I was like, oh my gosh, what a hero. And you think of this amazing American, they went in, they captured Maduro, which I don't even know how people are mad about that. Everybody thinks he stole the election. The U.S. put a $20 or $50 million bounty on his head. We send in the military, take no casualties, grab him, pull him out. And I mean, that is an American hero. and Democrats couldn't even stand up for him. And you see him coming down. He had 4 bullet wounds in his leg. He was using his walker. When you hear the whole story, after he gets it done, he's like, hey, what can we do for you? He's like, you might need to fly the plane a little bit because I'm going to pass out now that we're on the ground. That is an American. Prayers to him for his recovery and his family. And what a hero, Todd.
Oh, I loved it so much. Yeah, so many times the Democrats didn't stand. We can't even show all of them. The other one that comes to mind, Jason, is when you have this poor little girl, Hispanic girl, by the way. You know, I thought we were all racist for voting for Donald Trump. But she was hit in a vehicle because an illegal alien was driving a truck that ran into her. Ends up in a coma, has countless surgeries, is going to need therapy for the rest of her life just to do basic things like walk and talk. Democrats refused to stand for her, just like last year when Donald Trump brought out DJ Daniel, the cute little kid with brain cancer, refused to stand and clap for that guy as well. So many moments just highlighted. And to your point, Jason, not just like I have to oppose this because Donald Trump's in favor of it, because I think they actually do believe that. But I do have to fact check you. I think Democrats stood for this because I know it clipped over on like C-SPAN. Mark Kelly was up clapping for this guy. Mark Kelly, a former veteran. So they might have stood for this part, but they still hated the entire Venezuela operation. But to your point, too, the Biden administration, not just the U.S. government, specifically the Biden administration, had put a bounty on him because he stole the election down there.
Right. It's truly remarkable. And see, and then you get guys like Jeff. His lips are moving again. Don't like most of this because same old, same old. I know we're going to get a nice refund this year, but we have to claim it next year.
What?
Like, that isn't even true. You know, it's funny because that was one thing that was going around when they were talking about taxes. And I broke down Donald Trump passed tax cuts as part of the big, beautiful bill. I actually broke it down. I dropped the tweet in the private chat. And I showed how much more your taxes, your net taxes paid. So, and most people don't understand what net taxes paid are, but somebody making $56,000 a year is paying $3,000 less in taxes this year than they would have been if Trump wouldn't have passed his law. And this year you'll get a big refund because they were withholding the Biden tax rate. So, but people just don't even understand how stuff works sometimes, Todd. It's crazy.
Yeah, apparently not. And Jeff, yeah, they passed the bill in 25 and it's going to take immediate effect. You are filing in 2026 for tax year 25. Jeff, that's a year behind. That's how this works. You have to let all of 2025 play out, see what money you made, and then figure out how much you owe on that in taxes. But the other thing that, Jeff, thank you for joining. We needed some low IQ viewers in the audience today. These people vote Democrat. Democrats campaign on raising your taxes. We lived through the Biden administration, which made life more expensive with mortgage rates, inflation, groceries. We talked about gas and eggs already. These morons vote Democrat knowing it's going to get more expensive, and they think a Trump gotcha moment is like, well, Trump's doing tax cuts that don't come into effect fast enough, or Trump made prices lower. Like, which one is it, Democrat voters? Are high prices, high taxes good, or are they bad? I just can't with these people, Jason.
Oh. What more State of the Union do we have, Todd?
All right. Well, actually, speaking of Jeff's comment here, I pulled the clip. This is from your tweet, and we can read your tweet if you want to. But this is when Donald Trump says no Democrat voted for middle-class tax cuts, and this is the part they stood for.
All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary, massive tax cuts. They wanted.
So that's on the far side there. Donald Trump, too, is right when he was speaking. That was Democrats. They stood up and cheered because, like, yeah, we voted against Donald Trump's tax cuts. They hate you. We're going to stand for putting America first over illegals. We're going to stand when it comes to denying you tax credits here. Absurd. But
and it's funny, too, because the narrative is, or they want the Epstein files. We'll get to that.
Oh, we'll get to that.
The narrative is these are tax cuts for billionaires. And one of my side gigs, I have a lot of side gigs, I do taxes for friends of mine. And so I went in and I ran the numbers on a number of different scenarios on the taxes. So a single filer making $50,000 a year, if they wouldn't have passed Trump's tax cuts, would have paid $4,500 in taxes. With the tax cuts, they saved $948. Single filer with one child would have paid $2,100. With the new law, they pay 30s or they get back $3,700. They save $2,000. A single filer making 40 grand and 10,000 in tips, they pay $3,500 less a month in taxes. Single filer with one child making tips, $3,300 less. And that one's funny because that person actually gets more money back than they paid in. The government gives them money. And if you go down, a married couple making 100 grand a year save $2,000 in taxes. Married couple with one child saves $3,200 in taxes. So Democrats are cheering. Most of our audience, working class people, they make 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever, something in that range. You save $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year on taxes. Democrats stood and clapped because they vote against that. And then they're going to put out some bullshit that says like, oh, these tax cuts are for billionaires. You saying $2,000 in your pocket ain't good? Are you kidding me? Oh, it just drives me bananas.
Yeah, that's how these people are. I have a COVID story that I'll never forget from the government school system, but never forget as well, folks, when they say the rich don't pay their fair share, I agree with them because the rich don't pay their fair share. If it were fair, they would be paying far less in taxes. The rich are overwhelmingly funding the entire government. So if there are tax breaks and they get some, they deserve it. The poor are hardly paying taxes anyways, but the rich are paying all of it. But to Jason's point here, this is a middle-class tax break. But it's never enough for these people when things go well. Jason, when Trump issued in 2020 here, we got the stimmy checks. Everybody remembers the stimmy checks. I was working with some gal, she had TDS already, and she's like, what am I going to do with my $2,000? And I looked at her. I'm a supervisor, so I can't really say anything. But I just look at her, and in my head, I'm thinking, I'll take your $2,000, you ingrate. I know what your hourly is. I know how much $2,000 means to you to pay your bills next month. But they're insane. They are so ungrateful. Well, it's only $2,000. What can I really do about it? Like, what did you expect to get? Now, if they want to vote for no income taxes, sign me up. But these morons won't do that either. Like, you can't win with Democrats.
Well, and it's so funny because the reason America's great is because people get rewarded for innovating, for producing, for creating more. And this taxes, and like Mark had put a note on there about how expensive things are and now I can't find it. I live in California and prices are bad. High prices are largely driven by the taxes and the regulation California has. And it's only going to get worse. Caleb Hammer put a great video out, I believe yesterday or the day before. It's about 20 minutes long, talking about the wealth taxes they're putting in, and he broke it down. And for those who don't know, Caleb Hammer's a Democrat. Like, he is a lefty. He only wants people to be financially responsible. Like, he would just soon all the disabled people or whatnot get free rides. But he gets mad when he sees people taking advantage of the situation. And it's fascinating because Democrat voters don't know this. I guarantee you, if you show that tweet to somebody, some Democrat voter who's complaining about, yeah, they gave tax cuts to billionaires. Dude, you're hardly paying taxes if you make 50, 60 grand a year. Like, you literally, a married couple on the screen making $100,000 a year, you pay $4,000 a year in federal taxes under Trump's plan. How much less do you want to pay? Yeah. And I hate taxes. I want all the taxes gone. But Democrats would have left that on, and you would have paid they stood up for a married couple making 100 grand a year to pay $7 grand in taxes. That's what they stood up for. They hate you. I don't know how to explain it.
Speaking of hating us, Jason, here we go. This was another
sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
When I titled the program, Jason, it was a nearly flawless State of the Union. Where Trump missed his mark was looking right at Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and saying, and tomorrow I will be denaturalizing you and sending you out of the country. That's it. It was a nearly perfect performance, but I think it's time for them to go.
Yeah, and it's funny. Will had wrote an article on the Substack. We talked about it. I tweeted about it, but both those guys, the countries that they originate from and the beliefs they originate from, we sent white Christians to those countries and they killed us and ran us out of their countries. And we were trying to bring our form of governance, our religion, whatever you want to call it. We wanted to bring our culture to their areas. They killed us. They ran us out. They called us racists and bigots. So we're like, fine, we'll go back home. All the white Christians are out of Somalia. And then whoever the idiot was that thought bringing them over here is great, like they should go to the gulag. Because now you have Ilhan Omar basically saying, you know what would make America great is making it more like Somalia. I am so sick and tired of these people. And I hope, I pray Donald Trump finds a way to deneutralize and send them all home.
Yeah. Deb on the Facebook, it's time for them to go. Yeah. And just for context on this video, Donald Trump named Minnesota Somali migrant fraud specifically, destroying the state's coffers, taking $19 billion and counting as of right now. Ilhan Omar was not mad at the $19 billion in fraud. She was mad that Donald Trump was calling it out. That's her priorities, to Jason's point here. These people might be paperwork Americans. They are not Americans, and they're not rooting for America. They are trying to destroy this country by bringing in their own beliefs and value systems. And at this point, it's just communism. Everyone under the communist umbrella here is just, at the end of the day, anti-white, anti-Christian. But these two individuals here chanting, heckling, I believe Tlaib was mouthing a certain combination of letters, Jason, 3 letters particularly. I don't know if I can say that on the Facebook here. They just got to
save that for Rumble only.
Yeah.
These guys make me so mad, and I'm so sick. And Todd used the phrase paperwork Americans. Like, I am sick and tired of paperwork Americans. People that came here that didn't look at America and say, you know what? I want to be a part of that. Let me speak the language. Let me eat apple pie, play baseball. They show up in the country, and they want to bring their country to ours. Now, never mind, our country is amazing. We love our country. We tried to bring our country to you to make your country not a shithole, and it ended up you hated us for it. You called us names. You called us bigots. You ran us out of your country, and now you want to come here. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense.
It does not, especially Jason. Boy, I think we're really good on our segues today. It really doesn't make sense when you go back in time. Should we go in the time machine and compare Donald Trump's State of the Union to well, he just testified. He was subpoenaed. Bill Clinton here. We'll leave that aside. We'll get to Epstein in a second. But he also gave a State of the Union address in which he commented on the immigration system. And I don't know, Jason, if we had a bingo card, maybe we should have made one for our audience today. Folks, get a bingo card ready and just check off all the boxes. See if you can get 5 in a row of everything that sounds similar. Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, spot the difference.
With this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Huh. I don't know. It sounds pretty similar.
I was gonna say, we go back and play these clips, and this wasn't all that long ago, 30 years, you know. Bill Clinton's still in politics. What's funny too, when they pan the crowd, did you recognize like 10 people that are still serving in Congress 30 years?
Turns out, yeah, it might be 30 years ago, but it's the same people in Washington.
yeah, it's the same people there. And it's funny because I hated the Republican Party for a long time, pre-Trump, because what Bill Clinton's saying is right. Like, it was Republicans that wanted the illegals in here because they wanted the cheap labor. It's Republicans that wanted the trade deals so the big businesses could bring in cheap stuff. And I love that Democrats stood up for the middle class and said no open borders, no illegals on welfare, none of that. And I didn't agree with many of the other Democrat policies, but I love this because it just makes sense. Like, if we have too many poor people, they aren't making enough money, why bring in more poor people? And Republicans wanted the poor people because it was advantageous for business. Now, 30 years later, saying the same thing Bill Clinton said, all of a sudden you're a Nazi. It makes me so mad.
Yeah, and we don't have to go back 30 years, Jason. In a previous podcast, we had clips of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama campaigning in 2008, saying the exact same thing again. It wasn't until Trump came along that suddenly, you know what, maybe we need illegals, because that's going to be our voting block in the future once we naturalize all of them. But it's wild. I wish I could play this clip for my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and say, okay, so you don't like Trump's border policy.
What's different?
Well, yeah, what changed?
Right. Oh, it is so frustrating. Right. Now, in the chat, they're talking about Islam rule and Mandami. Should we touch base with the in the Mandami situation? Maybe start with the police.
Yeah, we got
snowballs thrown at them.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Jason, but if I were throwing snowballs at a cop where I live, I would expect a rather harsh response. Maybe not like a gun drawn on me quite yet, but I don't think they're going to take too kindly at it. So that's at least where I live in rural Minnesota. You can be in New York City though, and you can hurl snowballs at cops, and you can be celebrated as a hero, basically.
Do you agree with Commissioner Tisch that what happened in Washington Square Park with the snowballs was criminal? And how can you take steps to prevent something like this doesn't happen again?
So I've seen videos of kids throwing snowballs at members of the NYPD in Washington Square Park. And first I want to say that
I don't know if I want to make this comment, Jason, but when he says kids,
yeah, these aren't kids.
Is it like the youth? Is that what we're referring to here?
And actually, just to dive into that, sometimes we like to be educational on the Freedom from the Press podcast. Democrats love using language like this to try to create an impression in your head. So in this case, for people who haven't seen the video, when Mundami says the kid's throwing snowballs, he's assuming a low IQ voter, a Democrat. The media won't cover it. You have this impression when you say kids of like some 10-year-old throwing snowballs. And your Democrat friends and neighbors don't know these are guys in their early 20s that are throwing snow and ice balls at the cops. And even if it was somebody that was 10 years old, if I was a parent and I found out my kid was doing that, they would not be sitting right for a week. I'd whip their ass so bad. And the fact that New York City police allow this is insane.
Yeah, I can't believe the cops just took it here. Jason, when I was 10, my buddies and I filled up our super soakers and we blasted cars driving through the neighborhood. And one car slammed on their brakes. A woman got out and just berated us and then marched us to our parents' homes. But that is the appropriate response here, not just getting hurled with snowballs and then letting it pass, and of course not getting supported by your mayor.
Of helping our city respond to this blizzard. They have been keeping New Yorkers safe, And they have also been at the heart of our efforts of digging New Yorkers' cars out of these kinds of conditions and ensuring that our ambulances, our MTA buses can keep functioning across this city.
There is not a kid in
and
that
our
crowd.
entire city workforce deserve to be treated with respect. The only person in our city's workforce who deserves to be treated with a snowball is me.
Mr. Mayor, I want to follow up on the snowball incident. The head of the PVA says that the people who were involved in attacking the police officers should be charged criminally with assault on a police officer. I wonder if you agree with that, if those people can be identified.
Yeah, I don't. From the videos that I've seen, it looks like a snowball fight.
Yeah. Do you think we could throw snowballs at Mamdani and get away with it?
Well, and it's truly remarkable. Todd told his cop story. I remember as a young man growing up in southeastern Minnesota, I got busted as a young teen drinking during the day. My friends and I thought it was a good idea to have a party. The cop showed up. I thought it was wise to talk back to the cops. The cop proceeded to whip my ass, bounce my head off the hood of his car. And when my dad picked me up, I'm like, Dad, that cop kicked my ass. He's like, wait till you get home, son. What the cop did to you is nothing. And I'm like, and Dad was right. But it was like, I learned that day, you don't mess with police. You don't get in their face. You don't do anything. But so anyways, when Dami came out, you have these kids throwing snow and ice chunks. They aren't kids. They're voting age. I mean, let's just say it. These are voters. So if you're calling them kids, they strip their right to vote. And then I saw the New York PD arrested one of the guys. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. They went and they arrested him. And it turns out, did you remember what he got? He just got released like 3 weeks ago for like aggravated assault. Or
Yeah, I think I've got the caption on the video too here. Is it
yeah.
this one?
No, that's a Hillary Clinton one. Yeah, that one's really funny too.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, you know, it's officially a Friday party. We got Kev over in the chat. Shout out to Kev. We got Fally. We got everybody there.
All right, we're in business here. Alvin Bragg is back. All right, so there's one of our youths that was throwing snowballs here. Let me read from Nick Sorter. Manhattan Alvin Bragg, DA Alvin Bragg, remember him? He dropped the assault charge against 27-year-old West African, I am going to butcher this name so badly, Guzmain Coulibaly, who threw ice balls at New York City officers. This guy was indicted for robbery 3 weeks ago, and he is again free. So twice within the month, picked up by police, but because he is an immigrant, he is an important voter for Mamdani, he is allowed to walk.
And look at that guy. Pause that video. That's who he's calling a kid. How old did Nick say how old he was?
I don't think 27.
A 27-year-old from Africa. Who knows if he's here legally, illegally, on some sort of visa? Maybe he's a citizen. Who knows? This is who Mamdani's calling a kid. Second time he's been arrested, throwing ice balls. But yeah, now we'll play the rest of the clip. Oh, wait, does it have audio?
And my client, according to them, I haven't seen a specific indication that my client was throwing a snowball. But going based upon what they said, that they have an indication that he actually threw a snowball, that's all it was. There's no information that there were rocks, that these were...
I don't, Jason, to be in this man's position trying to defend a client, I'm all for getting a jury and a lawyer and whatever you can afford one and fair trial. But at some point, is there something wrong with you if you're like, you know what I want to do for a living? Defend all of these criminals. Because I don't know if I need a trial anymore necessarily. I think the rule of law is a bygone of a past age here. Like, this guy is just scummy too. You're defending this West African migrant throwing snowballs at police officers. I know.
And there's no proof there was a rock in the snowball. What? Oh.
So does that mean there were other individuals throwing snowballs with rocks? Did you have to get in front of that?
Oh, ridiculous.
I hate it all. I hate all of it. All right, Jason. Speaking of hating things here, should we go to Minnesota for a second?
Oh my
Can we
gosh.
do a little update on the Paid Family Leave Act that everybody knows, Democrats included, actually Democrats especially, knew would get abused and taken advantage of? Should we just kind of check in and see how that program is doing?
Yeah, do you want to explain the program, Todd?
Yeah, well, if you can go back to an old podcast here, but just a little recap here. I'm going to throw this up here just so we can look at something. Minnesota Democrats, because they took control of the House and the Senate and have Tim Walz as governor here, were able to just usher in a wet dream of communist utopian ideas, one of which was, how can we pay people to never work again? How can we crush small businesses? And so this new 2026 law that went into effect January 1st says that employees can take up to 20 weeks off per year, 20 weeks per year, if they have to attend to a child, a spouse, an in-law, a relative, anybody for that matter, because as it turns out, they don't have manpower to like verify if these claims are true. It got so bad that you could basically have eight siblings and they could all get paid leave to take care of the same parent at the same time. And so, of course, that's going to be a program rife for abuse. And now, as it turns out, we didn't talk about this before, but it turns out you can take your paid leave because you're supposed to be taking care of yourself or someone else. And Jason, you could use that free time of yours to go protest ICE.
One question I do have. We've had some federal agents in the state recently. We've seen video. We've seen video. We've seen statements and interviews. But we've seen how there's been chemical munitions used on some folks that have been out exercising their First Amendment rights, and we know that those cause harm and damage. So my question to you, and I know you may not have the answer to this right now, and it may be a lag in it, but have you seen any of that in terms of applications that are coming out, those types of actions being the reason for folks needing to access this program?
Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question, Representative Frazier. And I'll maybe ask Director Norfleet just to provide a couple brief details. But the short answer to your question is yes. As would any circumstance that causes injury or harm to the public. I think we have seen applications that have been tied to some of the violence that we saw in the as a result of Operation Metro Surge. I think we, as you would expect, if people have suffered serious injury, I guess it's not unexpected. It's certainly, it's sad. But that is, I think, one benefit of having this program is that people who have been seriously injured now have the ability to receive, take.
Oh, I misspoke, Jason. I misunderstood. So these people had jobs, maybe. But then they go protest ICE and get injured during the act of protest and then have to tell their employer, sorry, I'm hurt. I can't go to work. Let me get that sweet 20-week deal right now. That's what it was.
And here's the icing on the cake if you watch the whole hearing. And understand, in Minnesota, what they're doing is they have a network of people that through Facebook and Discord or Signal will notify people like, hey, ICE is here. A bunch of people will flood where ICE is. They'll blow whistles. They'll disrupt a law enforcement activity, which is not protesting. That is not peacefully protesting. You're obstructing law enforcement. You are not, this is not okay. And if it causes you emotional distress, you can actually say, okay, I need to take paid time off because I was so stressed when I chased after the ICE agents over in the streets of Minneapolis. That's how ridiculous this is. And Todd, I dropped a tweet in the private chat, if you can pull that up too, as long as we're talking about Minnesota. And this is insane. And for that paid leave too, just show you how insane it is. And the stories haven't come out yet, but they're coming out. A Somali could take 20 weeks off or whatever it is, get paid, go back to Somalia to hang out with their family, still receive welfare and their money from the government for the paid leave while they're in Somalia. So we're paying Somalis to go back to Somalia. But this one blew me away. If you pull up the graphic, and we have some autistic people that watch the show. So in Minnesota, 2017, 18, 2019 was when Tim Walz got elected. And then 2022 was, or 2021 was when they took control of all three branches of government by like one vote. So this is how much money we give autism programs: $1 million, $6 million, $20 million, ramps up to $38 million, $82 million, $124 million, $189 million. In 2024, $343 million in the state of Minnesota. Anybody with the brain can look at that and say, okay, something here is really jacked. But then here's what's funny. To do these autism centers, you just had to say that you were doing it. There was no licensing and no follow-up from the state. So because we live in a high trust society in Minnesota, you're native Minnesotan, you're natural Minnesotan, guys like Todd and I and our neighbors would never imagine saying, I'm going to falsify paperwork to claim money from the autism program. Like, that's horrible. But you bring in people that don't share our American values. They see a ripe thing because, hey, we don't even have to do any paperwork. So if you look, the funding now requires licensing. So 6 years into this, we gave away $350 million. Now they're asking you got to get licensed. Of the 500 autism centers, only 6 applied for a license.
Yeah.
So
what a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does that mean about the other 494 autism centers?
I gotta say this, Jason. This post was from Tom Emmer. I believe it was Tom Emmer who lectured his white St. Cloud district all those years ago, maybe a decade ago, saying this will be a good thing to bring all the Somalis in. I'm glad Tom Emmer is bringing this to our attention. I'm glad he appears to be supporting Donald Trump. He's also putting his finger in the wind. I can't give him too much credit. He lectured you on being a better person and welcoming tens of thousands of Somali fraudsters into our state. They all knew what would happen. It was all by design here. But Jason, you know what? Here's the numbers. Tim Walz had his own reaction about this. Tim Walz had no idea any of this was going on. And do you believe him?
If I knew what went on in Donald Trump's mind, I think the world would be really glad to hear me say what it is. I have no damn idea, Mary, what they're thinking. This is, yeah, because I think the number is now 19 billion, according to the president. And, you know, look, the thing about that is, and we've been very candid and open trying to solve this, misinformation doesn't help us fix fraud. Saying false numbers like this doesn't get to the reality of this, the actual tools to do it. Look, I see no other way to view this than I take him for his word when this is reckoning and retribution. They used false pretense to come in on Metro Surge, and we saw the catastrophic damage that was done.
All right, I can't do it anymore. You're overseeing the state, and he's saying, gee whiz, Donald Trump is lying. I don't know anything about fraud. If he said, like, honestly, if Tim Walz were a real human being and he cared, he might say, you know what? I am glad this got brought to my attention. I take my position seriously. I want to do well by the Minnesotans that elected me and even didn't elect me. I have a right to steward my state. I will look into it and cooperate with Donald Trump. He could go that route and just say, I didn't know. You got me. I don't like it, though. But he's doubling down, and even worse than doubling down, he's saying, oh, it's retribution. Donald Trump's just getting me. I didn't know. This doesn't exist. Like, that's just a bald-faced lie.
Well, and here's what drives me really nuts, too, is anybody who's worked in any business capacity whatsoever, anybody who's paid their own personal bills, if your electric bill suddenly went up from $100 a month to $600, I'm going to look at the bill. I'm going to, you know, if I'm a regional manager in charge of a bunch of stores and I see some expense go through the roof, I'm going to go, hey, why did this expense go through the roof? Like, this is weird. You know, like, that's just being competent. He willfully ignored what he was doing, and it makes me sick that people voted for him. And then notice he did the same trick that I talked about with the gas prices. Donald Trump said $19 billion, and I'd like to see his math. You know what? Do you want to really parse down the exact amount of what it is Or do you want to say, holy shit, there was way too much fraud. It was out of control. He's overstating the numbers, but it's bad. We need to fix it. But instead, he just, oh, well, let me technically, that's my new word with Democrats, by the way, because everything when you talk to them is, well, technically, and I'm so sick of it. Ugh.
Yeah.
And to answer Kev's question.
This is what they do, though. They never have, he said $19 billion, whatever. He doesn't come back and say, actually, it's 5. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's 500 million. He doesn't deny the fraud. He just denounces Trump's estimate here. And by the way, I bet when all said and done, it's higher than $19 billion. And I know this because I'm a rational, intelligent human being. Tim Walz is straight up lying. And where is the comment here? I think someone said he needs to go to prison now at some point. I might be making it up. But
the chats are flying. People are pretty fired up.
I love it. What a good problem to have.
And Kev's talking about trade. We need to get out of Minnesota because he's going to trade it, Minnesota to Canada. Pitch me why we shouldn't. Kev, if you're not following, so Minnesota, full disclosure, there's like 2/3 of the landmass of Minnesota everybody would want to live in and be a part of. Where I live, where Todd lives, it's great. It's old Minnesota. It's normal Scandinavians who snowblow each other's driveways, right? You get in Minneapolis and up it down in Rochester, up in Duluth. So there's these big inner city areas that's just full of all these retards, and they outnumber us with that, with mail-in voting, with vouching we've talked about. Like it's crazy. And I'm only hoping that comes to an end soon. But with your Canada thing, you got to watch. For those who haven't been paying attention what's happening in Canada, the Muslims are taking over Canada and China's taking over Canada. I was listening to a podcast from one of the authors I like to read, Nick Cole. You should listen to his last episode, Todd. It was really good. And he was talking about, and he said something, and I'm like, no way, it's true. They're recruiting Chinese military to come serve in the Canadian military because they don't have enough troops, is what they're saying. So they're going to bring in some of the provinces, or whatever the heck they're called. They're bringing people into Canada, Chinese citizens, to serve in the military. I'm like, this is crazy, Bill.
I mean, I look at Canada, I look at South Africa, Rhodesia, these other Western Anglo countries, South Africa and Rhodesia, I'll kind of classify as that for a second because they made them real countries. That's the canary in the coal mine. You can watch these countries just go south, and that's what they want to do to America as well. And Jason, I always wonder, why don't people see this? And I think part of the problem is people want that. They've been so brainwashed at the point they're like, diversity is our strength. Let's ruin everything we've created here and make it a living hell, but that'll be good because then we're not racist.
Right.
I do wonder. Oh, go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was hopping on Kev's comment here. Yeah, Minnesota's the same as all. It's always these cities. Would it be possible? Eastern Oregon for a while wanted to be part of Greater Idaho. One day it would be glorious for Western Minnesota to separate itself. I haven't looked into the process. I don't know if the Constitution allows it. I don't know if it'd ever be a thing, but I don't see us ever coming together. I don't want to be ruled by Minneapolis and St. Paul forever. There needs to be a divorce among the states. I think we need a reshuffling.
Well, yeah, and I mean, back to kind of the colonial concept or thing I was ranting about earlier. These people are creating this multicultural utopia in these big cities all across America, and it's failing. And this concept is just ridiculous. We did colonialism. They've convinced everybody colonialism was bad. Yeah, UK's probably.
Yeah, UK is a great example as well.
And we did colonialism. We said, okay, we got great civilization. Let's go around the world. And granted, there was financial motive. Let's set these things up as functioning countries so we can make money on the deal. But we did set up functioning countries in these countries. They called us racist bigots. They killed us and ran us out. And then they said, hey, you know what? Let's all go to these European countries. And who let them in? How is this ever a good idea to let people that hate you into your country, not make them assimilate? It drives me bananas.
Yeah, well, I think the important piece there, Jason, is you're giving him too much credit. Like it was a good idea on paper, it just didn't work out. I don't think any of this is an accident. You don't let in half the third world to your country and take over the population and destroy what you've made by accident. You can only view this as an intentional destruction of the country.
Right. And well, Todd, how do we end up the Facebook, YouTube?
I was holding off on this. So I feel like the other videos in here are all Epstein related. I think we do a little Epstein deep dive on the Rumble only today. But the last one here we didn't get to when we covered State of the Union. This was Abigail Spanberger. And I keep saying this. I say Abigail Spanberger, the Dems 2028 nominee. That's who she is now in my mind. But I was watching her response in real time. And I think I told you before the show, Jason, we made my mother-in-law, who has called me the N-word before, made her watch the Trump speech because we were staying with my wife's uncle, who's a big Trump guy. And we kept the TV on and watched her reaction. And within the first minute, she asked this question of her audience. I have 3 questions for you as Americans. And then the second question, I believe, we'll listen to them, is, do you feel safer in Trump's America? And immediately I'm like, the hell is this? Is this a parody? Like, we just listened to his 2-hour speech talking about deporting violent illegals, going into cities and rounding them all up, locking up violent criminals. We're watching Dem cities release all these people. Irina Zarutska's mom was there, and she's like, do you feel safer in Trump's America? Like, you have to live in a different universe to think like you're less safe. Now, you're not safe in Democrat-run areas, but the whole idea that they have on Trump, it's just, these are not human beings we're dealing with anymore. These are just programmed robots. But we'll see where this comes up in the clip here, and then I think we got to cut over to Rumble.
The people of the Virginia colony gathered here to take on the extraordinary task of the United States was founded on the idea that ordinary people could reject the unacceptable excesses of poor leadership, band together to demand better of their government, and create a nation that would be an example for the world.
Oh, shoot. The whole thing wasn't in there. I might have grabbed the wrong clip.
All right. Well, Todd grabs that. Todd made an interesting statement, and we've been talking about it like with our work chat. Abigail Spanberger, as Kev says, she's ugly, but she is a CIA operative planted in Virginia. And I apologize if you guys are sick of Virginia. You're going to keep hearing about Virginia, because Virginia, which was much like Minnesota, kind of a purple state, red and blue always traded off. Democrats won. They got the trifecta: governor, House, Senate. They are destroying Virginia. Virginia won't even look the same in 4 years. And I think Todd's right. I think she's going to sneak her way into the presidential race. She is the Democrat machine candidate. But we can get back to Virginia.
Since this president took office last year, his reckless trade policies have forced American families to pay more than $1,700 each.
All right, I have to pause it right there. I knew this would happen. There's so much to do. Democrats, again, they pick and choose when things getting expensive is good or bad. Again, under Joe Biden, we don't have to rehash that again here. We showed the clip where Donald Trump was like, you guys didn't vote for the tax cuts, and Jason ran the numbers here, thousands of dollars saved for every American family. And now she's over here saying the tariffs made life more expensive. Again, is it good or bad when things get expensive? As a Democrat, you have no idea how to respond until the media tells you.
And tariff costs. Small businesses have suffered. Farmers have suffered.
Small businesses, we just did the paid family leave. Every small business in Minnesota has to let their employee go and hold their job for up to 20 weeks while they just get paid by the state.
Some losing entire markets. Everyday Americans are paying the price. And even though the Supreme Court struck these tariffs down 4 days ago, the damage to us, the American people, has already been done. Meanwhile, the president is planning for new tariffs, another massive tax hike on you and your family. And Republicans in Congress, they remain unwilling to assert their constitutional authority to stop him. They're making your life harder. They're making your life more expensive. They're even making it more difficult to see a doctor. Rural health clinics in Virginia and across the one threatening.
For the life of me, Jason, I think I pulled the wrong clip again. Just trust me, folks. She asked the question, do you feel safer in Donald Trump's America? And somehow these Democrat voters, I assume she's just speaking to the illegals in her base at this point. Like, well, I don't feel safer in Trump's America. They might deport me. But no, as a regular American, you absolutely feel safer in Trump's America.
Well, and shout out to Mark. Mark's on fire today. Him and Kev are having fun over there. Talking about using emotions, turn off logic. That's going to be a big part of what we're going to dive into on the Rumble only part. We're going to play some of the emotional manipulation that the Democrats use. So this woman raised every tax in Virginia on her first minute. They're taxing your DoorDash. They banned your gas-powered leaf blower. They tax everything. We covered it on previous podcasts. And she has the audacity to say tariffs are a tax. Why do we have freaking tariffs? So that we can build stuff in America. So that instead of importing Chinese shit that they can pay slaves to build, we actually pay an American person to build. Could it affect prices? Maybe. But you know what? That's the only way we're going to get factories back in America. So you, who have raised every tax in Virginia, have the audacity to act like a tariff's a bad thing. Makes me. Todd, we're going to have a fired up Rumble only. We should get out of here before I get us banned.
I got one more, and then I got to get out of here too because we will get kicked off here. I know she's speaking to low IQ, low information Democrat voters because she, again, had the tenacity, the gall to say Republicans are trying to give you harder access to doctors. Democrats are the ones that ran through Obamacare. We all know how socialized healthcare ends. It means longer wait times, poor performance from doctors because there's no financial incentive in the marketplace. They just, you can keep your doctor if you like your doctor. Democrats have ruined healthcare, cozying up to the insurance companies. And she's out there pretending that Republicans are trying to take away access to doctors. You have to be low IQ to believe that socialized healthcare is going to provide a better outcome, more efficient, quicker outcome, seeking that help. There's no other way around it. And Jason, I saw a number here. It was a great thread on Twitter. I didn't realize we're going to go into healthcare today. You think about things like LASIK. So LASIK eye surgery, back in the day, a little more expensive here. It was new. Now, though, because it's not covered by insurance and these LASIK providers have to compete for your cash, cost has gone way down. New techniques are getting rolled out all the time. Recovery is shorter, again, because they are incentivized by the marketplace. And then they use the comparison of just MRIs in this case. MRIs covered by insurance, no financial incentive for hospitals or systems or clinics to improve, make it faster, make it cheaper. And so even though the technology would exist, MRIs and everything else that falls under the umbrella of insurance remains inadequate, inefficient, expensive, and things not covered by insurance, elective surgeries, elective procedures, LASIK in this case here, it's all gotten better and it's all gotten cheaper. But God forbid Republicans try to undo socialized healthcare in America and make it better for you. And again, I know you're low IQ, low information when you believe nonsense like this.
On that note, Todd, tell them where to find us on the Rumble, and then let's take a little break and see on the flip side.
Yeah, I was scrolling through our last Facebook comment is over on Peggy. So Peggy, I'm speaking to you right now. If you are on the Facebook, you can still catch the live podcast. We are not done yet. Jason and I are going to do the next half hour on Epstein over at rumble.com. If you're on your desktop browser, rumble.com, search out the American Tribune, look for the podcast section. If you want to get the app on your phone, it is a green play button. It looks just like YouTube's red play button. But again, big difference between red and green. On the one, you get censored. You're not allowed to say stuff. We certainly can't touch Epstein on YouTube. But at rumble.com or the green play button app for Rumble, you can catch the show. You can listen to the truth about what's coming up next year. And with that being said, folks, if you are on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in. We are signing off on the programs, but the show is not going away. Jason and I will be back in 60 seconds. We got some hilarious Epstein videos, actually, Jason. We'll set it up that way. Good Epstein talk coming up here. But folks, rumble.com and find our community at the American Tribune.